annual Abrahamic Reunion in Boulder. And so please work with me. If it's not perfect, next time it'll be more perfect. Okay, so tonight we're going to have representatives of each of the Abrahamic religions that are in Boulder, because there's others that, like Druze, but they don't live here, so we're not going to do Druze. But in Israel, they have the Druze, which is really exciting. But here we have Judaism and Christianity and Islam. And each religion is going to have an opportunity to do something spiritual for our group. And we're going to start with the call to prayer. So where is Fateh and the Imam? Okay, so you can please begin. Would you like to do the call to prayer, or what? How do you want to proceed?
We'll just statement for getting into the prayers. That's all, and then he would lead the prayers, and I would be.
Okay, so do you want to be doing that now?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because it's time.
So, Muslim prayers come at a certain time, and now is the time for the Muslim prayers. So what's going to happen, I'll tell you a little bit about the flow of the evening. And the first thing is the Muslim prayers, and then we'll get to food. And a word about the kosher quality of the food. So, of course, it's paper plates, and I bought all new utensils and things for the event. So the serving spoons are brand new. So everything's kosher. The only thing that's not strictly kosher are the falafel, because Falafel King is a kosher kitchen, but when they bring it into the restaurant, the meat there is not kosher, and they do fry it. Of course, the meat and the falafel never go together. But if you're super strictly kosher and wouldn't eat at Falafel King, I apologize. But if you would eat there, then everything's kosher and vegetarian. It's as kosher as I could manage. So, thank you for understanding. So, the next step, why don't we have... Oh, Bob Ballance isn't here yet. Is Bob here? Bob is not here. Is Bob Ballance here? No. Okay, then Martie McMane.
She's here.
Okay. So what I would like to do is introduce our leaders. Would you each like to come up and say something to the group? Let's start in historical order, and we'll have Charna. Charna, why don't you come up and they'll hear you better if you use the mic. And then Martie, and then the Imam. Do what? Well, I invited him. I mean, so I'm not really clear.
Would you like to,
Would you like to do your call?
would you like to do call to prayer first before we do this?
Yeah, come on up.
Because it's time.
It's time. Oh yeah, go up there.
Please, everyone, bear with Shoaib. He is learning English. He's been here only 13 months. He's never had a word of English, even though he was 32 years ago born in Denver. But he went back to Libya with his family when he was 1 year old. His family were studying here in Denver. They finished school, they went back. He's never come back until September of 2013.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming and listening. For sure, this is a good opportunity to know each other and get close to each other also. So I am Shoaib. I am Imam in Islamic Center of Boulder. So thank you for listening. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Afwan.
Prayer. We can bless the food. Did you want to just do your prayer yourself? And anyone who wants to join, please go ahead. But we'll keep the evening
You're
moving.
welcome to join us. I have no obligation.
Right. So, but we'll move ahead with Martie, because Bob isn't here for some reason. But
Well, I can start.
oh yeah, Charna, that's right. Go ahead, Charna.
Come on in, everyone.
You might want to use the mic. It's hard to hear in here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is a thrill to see so many people who are concerned, perhaps even delighted, to get together and to better understand what we share in common. And we seem to be starting with Abraham. And I can't really talk about Abraham without also mentioning Sarah. Because in the days of the ancients, a man and a woman were seen as one, truly. And Abraham was who he was because of Sarah. So just imagine that she's here with us as well. And I want to say that to share Abraham as a father, one of the things to really do is to understand what were the qualities that he had that made him so remarkable that 55% of the world's population consider themselves to have a root within who he was and what he brought forth. And first and foremost, he was a man of hospitality. His tent flaps, it said, were open on all four sides, which means that anybody who came from any direction he would see, and he would run to greet them in hospitality. And I really hope that it's that hospitality here that we all hold as we get to know each other. May we have curiosity about our differences and our similarities, and tolerance, as Abraham had, when we get to those bumpy places. He was a man of monotheism, a man of faith, of holiness. He was a visionary, he was a diplomat, and he was even a warrior. And these qualities, each one he had, where the tradition teaches that never a bad thought that did he have, because he was truly concerned in total faith with the one God and sharing it with whoever would cross his path. My teacher of blessed memory, Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, used to have something that he would teach about humanity. He would say that humanity is like a single body, and that the body is made up of many different organs. And each organ has to function exactly doing its task in order for the body to be healthy. If one organ were to fail, it would affect every system. And he said the world's religions are like these organs of the body. Each organ has to be function at the highest level that he can, not to compete with each other. I mean, God forbid we were just liver. You know, this wouldn't really, we couldn't exist in such a way. So as we learn to understand each other, to greet each other, to meet each other, to open our hearts, I just want to share that the Torah, the Old Testament in Deuteronomy, chapter 10, verse 16, says, "You must uncover the thickness around your heart, lest you become stiff-necked." So anytime you can't quite turn to see another point of view, it might be a time to take a breath and open the heart back up. In that spirit, I am delighted to be here tonight. Welcome. Thank you.
Martie, why don't you come up and introduce yourself? And then you can also say the blessing over the food.
I never introduced myself.
Oh.
That's so silly of me. How do you do? I'm Charna Rosenholtz. I am a Maggid, or Hebrew wisdom teacher in the Boulder Jewish community. And thank you.
Good evening, I'm Martie McMane, the senior minister at First Congregational Church here in Boulder, right on the southwest corner of Broadway and Pine, right down the street from the Pine Street Church, and we're hoping that Reverend Bob will be here too. I've been there 15 years and been an ordained pastor for 32 years. And why are we here tonight? Because we believe in our tradition of Christianity. And within each of our traditions, there are traditions. So we have to be clear about that at First Congregational Church, we are part of a progressive Christian movement that does not believe that Christianity is the only way to God. Certainly that would be too narrow for our understanding of the great mystery that God is. Though we are followers of Jesus, we believe truly that we are all one. We cannot be separated, and even science today is showing us this on the unseen level that mystics always understood. So what a joy to be able to get to meet people of other Abrahamic faiths. Philosophically and spiritually we know we're one, but how often do we get to be together, even in a small city like Boulder? So we thank you, Deborah Sue, for making this happen, and our hearts with our brothers and sisters in Israel and Palestine as well. One of the prayers of Jesus, whom we follow, is a prayer before his death, when he's praying to God and saying, God, I hope and pray that they all may be one, as you and I are one. And that is the motto of our denomination of Christianity, that they all may be one. May it be so. Would you join with me in a prayer of blessing for our meal and our time together? Holy and living God, we praise you and thank you for the gift of life, for the diversity of this planet and of your people. We'd ask a blessing on our time together, that the conversations in our circles might open us to the wonders of the holy in each one we meet, and that we might truly see our oneness in you tonight. And bless the food we are about to receive, and thank you for the good earth that brought it forth and all the hands that have prepared it. May it nourish our bodies, that we might be of service. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you all very much. So what we have to do is we got to put two things together. We got to eat and talk at the same time. I apologize. It's just a timing thing. So there's going to be 4 areas to talk, okay? And then, so this is 1, 2, 3, and then the kitchen in there is a nice table, 4. So please get your food in, then choose a spot, and each of our religious leaders will be at a different spot. Bob Ballance isn't here, so I'm not sure how we're going to handle that, but spread out. And then what's going to happen is, and after we get started on the topic, I'll tell you a topic, then we'll talk about that for 10 minutes, and then our religious leaders will change seats, because it's too much for everyone to change. So pick a seat where you're going to be till 6:30, and the religious leaders will change, and then we'll have another topic, and we'll do that 3 times. And then we'll end with something very special called the Havdalah service. So please help yourself to some food and find a seat.
We were all together Wednesday. We were all together. Figured that out.
I'm going to read the, this comes from Proverbs, and it has to do with peace. And then in your group, you could try to talk about peace. in your religion, that would be wonderful. How does peace manifest itself to you by practicing your religion? Okay, so in Proverbs 3:17, one who has found wisdom, their ways are of pleasantness, and its paths are peace. 10 minutes for this topic.
It's Shoaib, and it means complete beside or purpose. And so from that, I learned the sense of that if you are complete is perfect. So if we look at this again, one who is found wisdom, their ways are of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. So when you hear that, what do you think? What comes up? Do you want me to say yeah, it's from Proverbs, okay? One who has found wisdom, their ways are of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace.
Yes, a friend of mine was once teaching English in Israel, Beatles songs. And you say goodbye, I say hello is a real problem.
Bringing the relationship to give it that texture.
After we finish praying, we talk to God and say, Muhammad salam, Minka salam, ta'alayk wa tabarak, ya Dhal Jalali wal Ikram. Which means that you are the peace, and from you comes the peace. You are almighty, you are the most generous.
When we conclude our prayers, we say, O say shalom b'lecha, O yaseh shalom aleichem. Whether or not she said that, the one who makes peace makes peace.
So generally speaking, it's the same thing.
The same idea.
What is your religion? Thank you. Yes.
I'm Cedar, and I think it's easy to think of and all agree about peace on a philosophical level. It's when you get down to working with differences and working things out one-to-one or group-to-group that peace becomes a little more challenging, exciting, and interesting.
Challenging, sure.
Yeah, sometimes exciting, and from one framework, interesting because then it deals with differences, and differences not ultimately that we just talk, but that we appreciate and use and are enriched by.
My name is Laurel, and I didn't see the sign up paper. But I have an anecdote as a response to, forgive me for it, it's a little bit longish, but hopefully I'll pronounce it. But some years ago, I was in the Sinai desert. I was with a Bedouin, and he took me for a few days on a camel trip into the desert. And he'd been introduced through a super friend of mine, and went out into the desert and didn't talk for the first 7 hours. We were just, I was trying to become the camel. And eventually, after 7 hours, we stopped at a wadi, and he made tea. And we were talking, and I said to him, well, what do you do when you're not taking crazy women out into the desert? And he said, I'm a healer, and I'm a therapist. So I said to him, well, I'm a healer too. So we started talking a little bit about how healing works. Anyway, the trip continued, and on day 3, he said to me, before I was a healer, I was in the Egyptian army. And I said, well, how was that? And he said, oh, those Israeli soldiers are crazy. And I said, I get it. And I know Israeli soldiers who think, you guys are crazy. And he said, well, how do you know Israeli soldiers? And I said, well, my mom's family is a very old family from Jerusalem. So he threw his arms around me. He said to me, I knew you were my sister. And at the very, very end of the trip, when we said goodbye, he said to me, that moment that we looked into each other's eyes and we just were together, he said, that was the real healing. So yeah, it was beautiful.
Nice.
It's very powerful.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long. It was good. Thank you.
is pleasantness. I think it's that sense of delight. So let's say the word, I don't know if the word is namam or amen. Let's say it's delight. Let's say that ways are ways of being filled with delight. Because from a human wisdom point of view, delight is one of the highest qualities Yes.
But in English, delight has a different connotation.
Does it have light?
It's not as serious.
From a Kabbalistic point of view, delight is even higher of a crown than will. And so it is the delight of the light of the Lord. So from that point of view, I don't marginalize that at all. But to have the light of the Lord really in our hearts and our souls, what is more precious than delight? Not the delight from God. That was a great piece of prophet. Unless it's the delight of, think of all the people, think of everything that we witness, and all the people that inspire from your there's such delight in all that. It's kind of what meta. It's kind of what Michael said. It depends on the intention. Kavanah that you're going to put into it.
Kind of a thankfulness or gratitude.
Beautiful intention.
Jesus said, I am the vine and God is the gardener. Every barren branch is cut away and every fruiting branch is cleansed to make it more fruitful still. And another one, oh, that's all I have. Okay, sorry. So that's tolerance. I'll read it one more time. Jesus said, I am the vine and God is the gardener. Every barren branch is cut away and every fruiting branch is cleansed to make it more fruitful still. So I guess within ourselves we have to find what is fruitful and bring that forward. And then the things that are not conducive to peace and tolerance, we need to let go of. Okay, thank you. 10 minutes.
Parents from our church. I'm not sure we use that word in our church because it feels like the connotation of it is that you can tolerate it, but you're not really accepting it.
You put up with it.
You put up with it. So we've kind of switched.
I think
Well, we've kind of switched to acceptance and inclusion, words like that, rather than just tolerating the so I just wanted to say that, so you don't have to stick to that word.
just tell you, I'm Jewish, but Rabbi, I agree with you. I'm Jewish, and I agree with you 100%. Because tolerance just gives me, oh my God, I don't like this guy, but I'm going to have peace with him. But it's not the same.
Really understanding.
Really understanding.
Going deep, the deeper you go, the more the roots might be connected.
Oh, I'm going to.
Actually, I was about to say the same thing. I'm not a big fan of tolerance, the word, because it is where you really don't like the person or you're judging them. I think, well, I should just make nice or whatever. Be tolerant. Yes, be tolerant. That's what tolerance is.
So go beyond that meaning then to something deeper that your faith is teaching you. That's necessary for real peace.
What about grace?
It may be, for me, it was a beginning point. I grew up very parochial Christian. Our idea of peace was live with a bunch of people just like you and you have peace. But then when you connect with the bigger world, and you've been taught to react negatively to people who are different, tolerance becomes useful so that you stop reacting negatively to difference. But it's only a beginning point. The thing that took me beyond that was curiosity. What's your story? You're different from me. How did you get that way? Right? How does that work for you? What's curiosity then leads to knowledge, and then more than tolerance. Then it's we find parts of our story that connect, even though they may be different in some ways.
Yeah, I've never been beaten up. I'm a male, heterosexual, white. And that right there, I have #1 privilege in the community in which I live. Take other situations, a person who is gay or lesbian, transgender, somebody, a woman, a person of color, people of other faith traditions that seem to be different. That's where tolerance, I think you're right. It will either have to make us to not be violent toward or
where it's possible to understand someone and profoundly disagree with them. And that's the paradox, and there's always a paradox in wisdom I've come to in my life. And I don't know that it's me tolerating them. It'd be like tolerating gravity or something. I mean, it's not an active endeavor on my part. I can even not like them very much and understand them. But that doesn't mean I have to behave violently towards them. It doesn't mean I have to tolerate their violence towards me either. And it doesn't mean that I have to try to proselytize them in some way. I can just simply let them
What's being threatened? Is it my beliefs? Is it if I accept that as my family origin? Is isolation a possibility? Is sudden poverty a possibility? What is it that I'm fearing that this person's representing?
For behavior or whatever. I mean, yes, they're entitled to it as long as they don't harm others. I think often of Jesus' commandment that we turn the other cheek.
There are so many politics internally.
Religious tolerance.
There is a religious tolerance. Nobody cares. I'm talking about the regular people. Now there is intrusion from many groups. ISIS, Daesh, Ansar Sharia, this, that. Those people.
But the common people.
Common people everywhere are the same. Everybody would like to raise their kids and live in peace.
When government stuff is separate.
One of the things that
Politics is what's really kind of destroying the whole beliefs.
One of the things that I found out recently that I found very heartwarming and very interesting is that one of Prophet Muhammad's one of his wives was Jewish.
It was Christian Maria. She was Mariam. She was Egyptian. She was given to him by the Pope of Egypt, the Pope of Alexandria, and she bare him Abraham, his first son. His first and only son.
Iman, you mentioned something about how it used to be where there was more religious tolerance before. You know what that reminds me for, but not now. What it reminds me of is Nepal. Now, Nepal is a country that has always had Hindu, and they've got like hundreds of religions, and they've always lived in peace. Always. They share temples. The Hindus and the Muslims, or the Hindus and the Buddhists share temples. They pray together.
Is that true still?
Yes, that's right.
Because I see that there are differences in that you go to.
Well, they pray together every day. They go to temple and they circle the temples together. They share deities, so they.
Always say of divide and conquer. You have some corrupt establishment. How would they divert the attention of people towards other things and living or asking for better living conditions? And turn people against each other. I mean, in Egypt, we had 100 years of struggle against the British to get them out of Egypt. And one thing I read it in the newspaper a couple of days ago, and all the say the British general command in Egypt, he was under criticism for not putting the revolution down in Egypt in 1919. And he said, I don't know, his superior asked him, why don't he divide the Egyptians into Muslims and Coptic and Christian? And he said, we don't know who's who. We don't know who's who. So it's always been, and in Egypt we say, pray to whoever you we pray to, but it's all one country.
One thing, another comment, which I lived through during my growing up, back in the 50s. When there is a Jewish holiday, the Jews give food and things they make in their holidays to the Muslims and the Christians. And the same thing the Christians did in Easter and in Christmas and so on. Same thing the Muslims did towards the Jews. And the customs are exactly, especially between the Libyans, the Arabs and the Jews, the Muslims and the Jews, the customs are almost 100% identical. Clothing and the good henna, you know henna? Their hair and their feet, weddings, everything is the same.
I want to just read the declaration of the Abrahamic Reunion Declaration for Religious Tolerance, and then you'll know a little bit about what this came from. The Abrahamic Reunion, a group of spiritual leaders, Jews, Christians, Muslims, and Druze, have been working together for 10 years promoting interreligious harmony in the Holy Land. We are women and men of the faith of this land, our land, who meet together, walk together, eat together, pray side by side in mutual respect. We demonstrate by our personal example that we can live together in peace and cooperation. At this difficult time, we want to reaffirm to the public our heartfelt conviction that within our religions are the pathways of love and peace. We condemn the violence, hatred, racism, and suffering being inflicted upon our communities in the name of religion. We believe and we teach that the holy places of all the religions in the Holy Land must be respected and not be defaced in any way for any reason. We are the children of Adam and Eve, the children of Abraham. To our regret, recently, we have forgotten that we are from the same family. Arabs, Jews, and Christians, let us remember that we are one family. This is a declaration of tolerance, and it's signed by many people in Israel. And if you'd like to join it, it's a movement spreading not just in Israel, but here. This is one example of an Abrahamic reunion. This is some in Florida, and it's spreading. So if you'd like to sign, please do. Okay, now I'm going to invite Charna to come up and do the Havdalah service.
Hello. So, for those of you who have this booklet near you, towards the end, we have the information of what Havdalah is. So I'm going to give a very, very quick, raise your hand when I say Havdalah. Raise your hand if you know what I mean. Okay, so maybe a third of us, so that means 2/3 are about to, I'd love to share with you a Jewish ritual that happens every single week. We have been lucky enough to meet during the Jewish weekly remembrance of Shabbat. Shabbat, which actually means to cease or to rest, is the time, we were talking about in one of our groups, we were talking about delight. It is a time of the most sublime delight. It is a time when we truly rest, when we just stop everything except for the taste of God's presence in our life, the taste of all that is good, the taste of just the sweetest, soulful period of joy. And because it's very special, we begin it with lighting fire. We begin it with fire, and we're going to end it with fire. And as my friend Rabbi Ori says, who is here, thank you, Ori. Ori's right here. Would you please take the mic up, honey? As Ori says, because we begin and start with fire, we are embraced within the light of Shabbat. And in order to mark its end, we have a very specific ritual. So we can make the difference between what is holy and what is profane. So we know the difference between sacred time and ordinary time. And so what we're going to do here, as we in the sacred nature of time, as we honor this together, we're going to do this ritual, a shortened version, and we're going to be using wine to really remind us. Wine is a symbol of life, Wine is joy, real joy. We're going to be using spices, and you'll see people have spices. Don't smell it yet. To remind us of just, smells. Open up our hearts, get our emotions going. But it's also the smell that harkens back to the sweetest smell ever, the Garden of Eden. And then, of course, fire. Fire, which is from Proverbs. The human spirit is the lamp of God, the lamp of Allah, the lamp of the Lord. And so we will make a blessing over each of these three things, and then we'll make a blessing for distinction between this and that. And we could think, well, I'll ask a question when we get there. And so we'll be saying the prayers in Hebrew. So in between each of the prayers specifically, there will be spices that are passed around for you to smell, and I'll let you know when that is, and you know when that is. You'll pass the spices around, and we'll just be singing a song that everybody knows the words to. The words are Yai Dai Dai. Let's hear you. Yes, what a musical group. And so we'll be just singing that. We might say lie, lie, lie. It doesn't matter, you get the picture. And then until everybody has smelled that, we'll just be lie, lie, lying or die, die, dying together. Okay? Are you ready to give this a try? Yes. Thank you for your tolerance and your curiosity and your spirit of beginning. And if we could do the lights now. Yai, lai, 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 the end. We hear the sizzle of the flame going out. We know Shabbos is over, and we wish each other a good blessing. Shavua Tov, 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 Shavua Tov. A week of peace, in gladness reign, in joy increase. A good week of peace, may gladness reign, and joy increase. Thank you.
A good week, everybody.
Somehow miraculously, we're right on time. So now we transition to music. And I'd like to invite Sheriff Faye to come up. And if you want to say something about yourselves, please do. And we'll move on to the next part of our evening.
Shabbat Tov, greetings. This is a real pleasure to play. We're actually fusing two different groups tonight. Sheriff Faye, many of you I'm sure are familiar with. I'm a huge fan. Have been playing the music of the entire Middle East, Mediterranean area, Palestine, all the way to Morocco, Persia, Turkey, Greece, for many years. But the three of us also play in a group called the Boulder Klezmer Consort. So tonight we're going to do a mixture of Middle Eastern music and Jewish klezmer music. So we're touching on all the faith and cultural traditions. I'm Sheldon Sands. We have on percussion and various lutes, Jesse Mano, and James Hoskins on the gadolka, which is the little string instrument from Bulgaria, I believe, and the cello and vocals. Jesse's on vocals too.